Yeah.
So when when where and how did you meet Dad?
How did I meet Dad?
Yeah, and when?
It was through Uncle George Lowe, who was going out with my cousin Pat Lamb. And Uncle George had a car, and he came to pick up Pat at 59 Kissling Street, where she lived with, her family, and Annie. And Dottie and I were there. And so we went along. So Dottie and I sat in the back of the car, and Pat sat in front. And he drove in Chinatown very slowly, because that's how it was, because of the Chinese New Year, I think it was. And we passed someplace, and he said, "Oh, that's fun." And we paused, because we had to slow down. And we paused, and we looked, and there was this young guy and an older man selling those trees that are very quince trees, or quince branches.
Mm-hmm.
And he slowed down, and Uncle George said, "Oh, that's my brother Bill." And Dottie and I were sitting in the back seat, and I thought to myself, so, and
how old were you then?
I was about 19 or 20, about 20, I think. I was living with Auntie Pat and her family. I was living with Aunt Annie.
In what city?
In San Francisco.
Okay.
And George was more or less taking Pat out, going out. I don't know if they were a couple, but he took her out a few times. So Dottie and I always tagged along. Mm-hmm. We sat in the back seat of his car, and George drove, and Pat sat next to him in the front.
So you saw Dad selling quince?
Yeah, the quince fruit branches with his father, Grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only time I saw him.
Okay, and then what happened after that? How did you drove by, but...
I can't remember exactly. Not exactly.
Okay. All right.
But George always wanted to go out with Dottie, but I think Dottie knew. By that time I saw Dad, and I kind of liked him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And Dottie also, I think. And so she just cozied up to him, and I thought, well, so what? I wasn't that attached to Dad at that time. You know what I'm saying?
No.
You don't know what I'm saying? Because I didn't care one way or another. I was not jealous or anything, and I was just wondering what the heck was she doing. That was my question to myself.
Okay, so you didn't know Dad at the time, or you did?
I knew him. I just knew him. I just met him.
Okay.
I really did get to know him very well.
Well, how did you get to know him?
Well, I'm trying to remember. I am trying to remember, and I really don't remember that well.
Okay.